Hey everybody, this is Edward. I'm the host of the WordPress Web Help Meetup group. My company is Brass Ring Web Design. If that's too long for you, just remember at my WordPress guy. I'm your host, and I'm recording this at the end of our meeting because due to some snafus with Zoom, we weren't recording during the very beginning of our meeting, which is, you didn't miss a lot. Typically, what we do when we start this group is I have people, as people are arriving, because nobody shows up exactly at 6 p.m. So as people are arriving, we have people throw out issues they might be facing. If it's something really quick, we sometimes actually resolve it before the speaker presentation. We also go through a round of introductions. This is a community of WordPress pros and WordPress, say, amateurs. We have quite a spectrum of expertise, and we simply get together and help each other out. Those with knowledge and experience are able to pass that on to the people who are still in the beginning stages of their learning curve. And the people who are on that beginning part are able to have the benefit and experience of people who've been working with WordPress for some time and have experience and resources to offer. So you didn't miss a lot. I'm just going to splice this at the beginning of our meeting. And the next thing you will hear will be Brendan O'Connell, who will be introducing himself as we go into our presentations. All right. Well, thanks for being here, and I'll turn it over to Brendan.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ed. This is the WordPress San Diego meetup group. So I'm Brendan O'Connell. I do agency work, and I'm here to talk about using WordPress as an actual CMS, using custom post types beyond just pages and posts, alternatively titled How I Learned to Stop Making Pages and Love Custom Posts. So what are custom posts and why did I pick this topic? So, as I was saying, this is a concept, like when it clicked for me, it was like a definitive light bulb moment in how I built and created and, managed websites and created websites for clients to manage. I could build better and faster and bigger, deliver better websites and better building experiences for clients. At the end of the day, it was easier for them to add and manage content on their website through using something like custom posts. And so the idea, behind this talk is I want people to feel empowered to, be able to deliver meaningful client experiences. There's just talk about sort of curated client experiences where it's sort of a managed way for them to actually control their website and be organized, things like that. So, and again, when someone, when you get a client that comes to you and says, can you make me a portfolio or a testimonial archive, whatever it is they want, I want people to think of ways that they can actually deliver something like that rather than just be like, I don't know how to do that. I would just put it in pages. So, this is a complex topic, custom posts, dynamic data queries. It requires us, as I said before, to change how we think about how we build websites, how we architect the back end, things like that. And, it does sound daunting, and it's it is a little daunting. It's going to cover a lot of concept and ideas, and I'm going to be probably too fast for some, and it's going to be too basic for others. So, so you can't really please everyone there. And this is only my interpretation. I can't show you every tool, every method, and also the way I do things. You could probably do it differently and maybe better. And, I encourage you to think about those ways and comments, if you see, hey, Brendan, you should do it this way, tell me, because
We
that's what we're all here for.
we will definitely have a replay available, so make sure to avail yourself of that, Brendan, because
Awesome.
they can refer to it.
Awesome. Yeah, good to hear. Yeah. So, and again, this is going to be like a low code version. You can do a lot of this stuff as if you're a developer, but we'll just keep going. So what are some examples of things you can build with custom post types? The things that I use almost on every single site are testimonials. I want a place for my clients to manage their testimonials for clients that they get. I want them to be able to have, a list of names, and I want to be able to show those on the website and not just have them in pages. Uh, and same thing with FAQs. That is something I put a lot of time into making custom post types for FAQs. And portfolio, that's another big one that a lot of people have, or services or whatever it is. But there's other things, you can do location pages for cities across the country. For counties, you can have like parent-child relationships there. You could make like custom sliders that have dynamic data. You could basically, I want people to think about it as like we're creating custom databases, even though they're not really databases, for like databases within a database. And it's really anything you want to do. If you want to do book reviews, music catalog, organize the docs and PDFs that you have for your business, things like that, or something ambitious like rebuilding Yelp, rebuilding the functionality of a directory system. These are all things you can do with custom post types, and it's not too complicated at the end of the day. You just have to kind of understand what you're doing. So quick recap of WordPress architecture. So, when you log into WordPress, you see your posts, this is usually your blog posts, you have pages, media is kind of a content type. These are basically types of content, types of posts, or custom post types in another way to look at them. And so, we could go into like, what is a post, right? We've got posts have, it's generally your blog. At the end of the day is most of the time, and that's what you should be using it for. You've got categories for your posts that you can categorize things. You have tags, you have dates, you have all these fields that you can fill out. These are custom fields that are associated with posts, right? So everyone's kind of familiar with these. What is a page, right? It's different than a post, right? We don't see the categories here anymore. We don't see tags. We see a parent thing. We have parent-child relationships here. So, there's some similarities. They all have titles, they all have slugs, they all have dates, things like that. But there's some overlap, but they're not quite the same, and they do have different functions. So, we get to the question is like, well, what if something is not a blog post or a page? What if it is my services and I want to group them? What if it is my testimonials? What if it is my FAQs? So, if you're like me, you ran into this at some point. Eventually you run into this in WordPress. I feel like where you're just making too many pages with similar content but not identical content, and you just need a way to group things, and you run into these problems. And it just helps to think of ways to categorize things, right? So rather than having a crazy junk drawer, right, of just all your stuff that you're just throwing into posts, or trying to use the categories in the blog to categorize things, like there is a better way. All right, let's get to that. So what are your options for creating something custom like this? You can use the default WordPress custom fields. There are some default ones built in. They're really just kind of text fields and don't have a lot of bidirectional or like image fields, things like that. But that is the way that a lot of developers go, and you can actually custom code some other more advanced things into it. But the other option is to use something like a third-party post type, which my friend Mark Szymanski here, I'm giving him credit for coining that, because that's something where it's like a dedicated portfolio. Like if you go to search the portfolio page, and let's say you want to, like, I need a portfolio for my client, and if you go and search the WordPress repository, you'll find almost 1,000 different plugins for portfolio. Some are good, some are bad. I went and downloaded this visual portfolio, which I probably used sometime back in the day, but it works. You can come and make your portfolio projects, and you have categories and tags, and it'll show up here as a separate thing away from your posts and pages, right? And you can change some of the settings, and there's click to zoom and restore focus, and there's a lot of different settings in here, and this might suffice for what you want to do, and it's fairly point and click. But eventually you might run into, like, if you want to customize this a little more, you want to add additional fields for that, then you're going to run into a wall pretty quickly too. All right. And I just realized my timer did not start. It says I've been going for 30 minutes. That can't be correct. I'm just going to keep going, I guess. Um,
The meeting's been going roughly that long.
okay. Well, yeah, sorry, I kind of messed up
Not
on my
you.
timer here, so I'll just start it again here. Sorry. All right. Anyway, so getting back to custom post type, so a lot of themes or plugins will create a custom post type basically for you. Divi, for example, has a ton of installs, one of the most popular themes, and I used that for many years actually, and that was it comes with a projects post type that when you install the theme, it also installs this sort of custom post type. So what is the repository in the WordPress uh, sorry, what does the WordPress repository look like for custom posts? Again, it finds 10,000 plugins with custom post type in there. Some are good, some are bad. So I'm going to be using advanced custom fields, and hopefully if I have some time later to do a demo of this. It is a very popular plugin. It has over 2 million installs. We can get into the various types if we want to later. I also really love MetaBox, which I use most of the time on client projects, especially bigger ones, because it makes fewer database entries. Again, we can get into some of that later if we have time, but okay, moving on. So the benefits of custom post type. Again, I've kind of touched on these a little bit. I'll just kind of try and go quickly here. So again, we're organizing all of our things where instead of juggling dozens of pages and crazy relationships with the pages, we're just we're going to put things in custom post types. It's an easier place to manage. It's a centralized location for both the developers and anyone. Like we also, I have people on my team that are not coders and don't really get into the development side at all, but they need to be able to come in here and create custom post types or add fields and things like that. So it's a fairly low code way to do it. It helps you scale your website sort of more effectively, and it makes migration easier in the sense that you have your content is separated from the design. It's not necessarily within all the HTML of your actual pages. Um, and for me, like pretending to, I guess depending on the builder you use, but the way that your builder handles dynamic data, it can be a really a seamless way and actually a quicker way to develop, because you're only building one time and you're querying all these things from this custom post type. So all right, moving on. So let's take a look at an example here. Here is the Internet Movie Database. This is a good example of just like a big internet database has been around since like almost pre-internet, right? And so we have things here like the title, right? We have the Godfather, we have a release date for it, we have a director, we have a genre, we have a duration, we have a rating, we have all these little fields here, and all movies have these things, right? All movies have a title, all movies have a year that they came out, all movies have a rating, all of them have a duration, etc. So we think about organizing content, we want to group similar things together and have a set of fields that we're filling out rather than like duplicate and duplicate and duplicate. So that is that. What do I have next? Understanding. So this is I'll get into this when I do the demo. This is just kind of like how to install ACF. It's a pretty seamless experience. There's some changes that they probably need to make onboarding a little easier, but you basically install it. It says, do you want to create some custom posts or custom fields? And you can decide you make a custom post. And we're going to make one for movies. So we'll do that in a little bit, and we can kind of go through that. But then you just, you create the fields that you want to use for movies and you assign that there. Yeah, so that's essentially the thing that we're going to be doing in a little bit. There's another thing that comes with these custom post types beyond field groups, which is taxonomies. You can create custom taxonomies to things. So here's a recent project I have for a university that I'm building a new website for, and they needed a way to organize all the people associated with the university, right? They have, right now it's just all static pages, and that's one of the reasons they came to say, we need a better way to organize this stuff. Please help us. So one of the things I've done is created a people custom post type. And within people, I have what are called taxonomies. It's a fancy word for categories or groups of people, right? So I've got the alumni, I've got the boards of director, the faculty, so that I've groups within my custom post type. So I hope I'm kind of getting to the point where it's just like it's a really flexible and powerful way to create custom experiences, custom dashboards, really have a better way to organize and scale websites. Uh, so I have a couple notes here at the end, and we'll kind of get into this when I do a quick demo here. But to use the default WordPress fields where possible, when you start using custom post types, I've seen this with other people where they make a title text field custom post type instead of like just using the default WordPress post title that comes with it. Same thing with the featured image that comes with WordPress. We should be using that where we can, unless you have good reason not to. So sometimes you actually don't need to make that many custom fields because WordPress comes with some built in. And I won't get into this probably tonight, but for more advanced, this is part of a older conversation I had, but it's like a advanced configuration when custom post types allow easier REST API access for automation and for using, WordPress as just like a headless CMS. So that's sort of more advanced stuff. We won't get into that today. So I will pause there, I guess, and see if we have any questions. That's basically the presentation portion, and then I will do a demo. Do we want to stop for any questions? Was that too fast?
I
No,
thought
not
it
at all.
was, yeah, I thought it was paced well. I do have a little bit question. So when would you use the categories and when would you use taxonomies?
They're the same thing, in
Oh,
my opinion, right? Am I crazy? I use them as the same thing. I create custom taxonomies, and then I assign those taxonomies to. Well, yeah, we can get into that in a little bit. But anyone else want to chime in
okay.
there?
Yeah, I tend to use them interchangeably. Just ways to categorize and sort your various posts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Okay.
taxonomies are just like the actual name. Like you would create a custom taxonomy and you could name it categories or you can name it tags. Obviously, there's some distinction there if you want to go over that, Brendan. But yeah, it could be it's any way to kind of like group these custom post types that Brendan's going to show and look at and everything like that into literally just, I guess, the colloquial term or whatever would be a category, but you could name it whatever you want. But yeah, so
Okay.
it is
Yeah.
relatively
Okay.
interchangeable.
I'd suggest about not using the word category and
Yeah,
tags if
'cause
you're
there's-
using a custom post type, though, because you don't want to necessarily blend them in with your posts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even
Okay,
know.
that
Can
makes
you even
sense.
do that? Because there's the default ones. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not advisable. Name it something else.
Sometimes I do that, but I mean I wouldn't recommend it. Okay. Well, I can just keep going if unless anyone else has another question. Yeah. Okay. Because I figure like it's yeah, everyone can watch the slideshow. Maybe it helps to just go through it on a blank install. I have some data pulled up on another screen that I'm trying to see here. Give me a second here. And I'm going to build some custom post types. So we could first like look through, right? We could look through creating we could add like a portfolio. I wouldn't recommend doing this, going down this route, because you'll probably run into some walls eventually, but you can look at these various things. I probably won't even bother going through it because we're here for actual custom fields. So I'm going to search for ACF. Again, you can use pods is another really popular one, which is free, I believe, and MetaBox has a free version that I think doesn't have a UI for it. I can't remember. I haven't used the free version in a while, but it's a really popular one, and I like that. But we're going to be using ACF today. It's very easy to use.
Maybe you could put a list of some of your favorites in the chat later on.
Definitely. I'll do that. And the pros and cons too, because it's kind of what people are interested in. So we're going to do ACF Advanced Custom Fields. This was bought by WP Engine a few years back, but they've been developing it, pretty well. So people are happy with it. It's, as I said, it's got millions of websites using it. So let's install it. And I'm thinking I had a couple things you know, I don't know, my brain's all over the place, as probably everyone can tell here. But what I'm going to do is make just the default thing. So we're going to make like IMDb. We're going to make a bunch of movie fields. Let's do that. So I've got the post type here, and we're going to create a post type called movies. And in fact, that's the placeholder here, right? So I guess you need to still fill it out, right? But it'll fill in the post key automatically. And this is the thing that's saved in the database that's like telling WordPress instead of posts, we have a new post key called movie. And so we'll save that. And when we save that, we're presented with this little green action bar up here to add fields to it or to link existing fields. We don't have any yet. Create a new post type or duplicate it. So let's just start with add fields. And for the movie fields, we can start adding things in here that like, what does a movie have, right? We've got like ratings, we've got directors, we've got a title. We're going to use the default WordPress post title for the name of the movie, but let's add like a runtime. Okay. And then basically what we're doing is creating fields for this. So runtime, you could make it a text field. We could also make it a number, right? We could say, and the default value is maybe like 120 minutes, right? And then, you know, there's ways to customize what we have here, right? There's some tabs here for validation. You can make it required. You could say instructions like enter runtime and number of minutes. And this gives the person filling in the field some instructions on what to do with the field. Okay. So we can, we'll keep that there. And then what we want to do is, because I hit let's assign fields groups to this post type, it's already selected here. If your post type is not selected and it's just post, that's blog post. Or you can assign it to pages. So, you know, this is maybe a good way to kind of, there's a divergence, and you can assign custom fields to your blog post too if you want. But right now we're going to assign it to movies. So we'll hit save. And over here I have movies as a post type. You know, it's showing up with my posts and my pages. It's got the same icon as my posts, in fact. And if you want to change that, you can. Let's change that really quick. Movies. And I think we do what? Advanced configuration. And there's some bunch of different things you can do with advanced configuration. But there's a little icon picker here, right? So we could do like a camera. And this is like, did I even select it? I don't think so. I think I just click it. Can't tell if it's selected. Okay, there, now it's selected. And then that'll change the icon over here. So you can kind of customize this for your clients to give it kind of a little more of a nice personal touch. So let's add some movies because we need to see something in here, right? So I will go ahead and add a movie, and we can see down here, I already have my custom fields here associated, right? So I will pick a classic, Godfather. All right, so I don't know what our runtime is. I didn't look up that stuff. Let's just say it's like 220 minutes. We'll publish it, and now we have the start of our movie database with a movie, and we can start adding new things in here, right? So let's just add another movie. Apocalypse Now, and we'll start to see like, well, but what, I don't have like some other stuff. I need a genre. I need, you know, maybe a director. I need other stuff in here, right? So, okay, no problem. Let's go back to our field groups and we'll add additional fields for our movies, right? So instead of runtime, we can add a new field group, and we can call it, rating, or we need to call it something. It'll be our rating field, and we can use all these different field groups, right? We have all these different things we could do. I could do like radio buttons for this, right? And I could then make different choices that my end user can pick, right? So G, PG, PG-13, R. Each one's on a different line. And so let's save that. Go back to my movies, edit, and now I have a rating. So I can select a rating for each of these movies. It's definitely rated R. Great movie. All right. So we have a rating. So what else can we do? We can add other stuff in here. We could add like we could add like what is there, a slider? No, it's called range. And we could add like a audience rating. or something like that for like the number of stars. We could have a default value of like 5 stars, and we can go to the validation here for this. And we could do like minimum value of 1 star, maximum of 5. Presentation, we can make some like enter the movies, the movies rating, audience rating, right? And we can make the step size instead of 1 star each, you could do like 0.5 stars. Okay. And then we'll go back to our movies. It's open here. And now we have a little rating star thing here, right? So we're starting to build out our custom database here, where we're just assigning fields to movies at this point. Now, I'm using movies as an example because it's, you know, it's easy to visualize this stuff, but you know, you can extrapolate this out to any sort of client project where you're needing to organize things. So hopefully that makes sense. I will keep going because I do want to get to like taxonomies and things like that. So let's add some more things. So again, we want to add like movie genres, right? Every movie has a genre. So we could come in here to taxonomies, and I could create a custom taxonomy, and even that little it's a little default there for genres, right? So we could do genres and genre, and it'll save that, and we can select what post type we want to apply that to. We want to apply that to our movies. Okay, and I'm going to make it hierarchical, and that will make it so well, we'll see in a second. It's just it's more of a UI thing. And so now if I hover over movies, I see genres. All right, so I can go in here and make a genre. Make crime. You could do you know, historical, whatever, drama. I don't know. Those are all overlapping somewhat, but anyway. And now when we go back to our movies, we can edit these and we will see our genres, right? So we have crime for The Godfather. We've got Apocalypse Now, historical. All right, everyone with me? Good. I'm assuming everyone's nodding. Can't see anyone. That's fine.
Yes.
I'm just going to keep going anyway.
You're
All right.
good, Brandon.
Awesome. So let's make this a little more complicated. Let's add another post type because we have movies, but we also have like there's people with that are associated with movies. We've got directors, we've got stars, we've got writers, we've got producers, all a bunch of people, right? So let's come and make another post type for people, and we'll call it people. All right, and we'll just save that. All right, and let's go ahead and add some people in here because we have some movies in here. I'm just going to kind of go fast and add some people in here. We got Francis Ford Coppola. We'll create how these people connect to the movies after add some more people in here. De Niro, Scorsese. Don't worry, I've got
Brando.
something. Got something for you ladies in the room. The director of Titanic. One of the stars of Titanic, another star of Titanic, and we're gonna connect this to other movies because we're gonna have another movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. So we'll see how this all kind of connects together in a minute. So just bear with me here. Gonna add more people. Okay. How many more people do I need to add? That's probably enough, right? We'll do one more, I guess. Okay. All right, so we have a bunch of people here, but they're not really associated with anything yet. They're just people in a database. So what we can do is, I don't know, I'm probably going to and from too many different places, but let's make another taxonomy for like roles. Let's call this role, and we'll associate this with people because people have roles in movies. And actually, I'm going to make that hierarchical again. And so now if I come back to my people, I can edit any of these people. I'll see roles, can add roles of director. All right, we can do lead actor, but he's not one, so I'll check him, uncheck him. All right, so how do we get these people to have movies associated with them? We can go back to our field groups, and what I'm going to do is make another field group for people, and this will be like people details, and we're going to make a relationship because we want to relate these people back to the movies that they're in, right? So we'll call this like related movies, something like that, and we want to filter by post type of movies. Right? We want to have a movie relationship field, and we want to go to the advanced tab here, and we can make it bidirectional, and we'll save that. And then we will also go back to our field group for the movies and edit that and add another relationship to bring the people to the movies this way as well. So relationship, and we'll do advanced bidirectional related movies. That's not correct. We need related people. So give me a second to we want related people for the movie post type. All right, so let's go back to, let me see if I can see it now. We want related movies there. Okay, so let me save that. And we'll come back to our people details. Hopefully that, wait, groups, people details. Okay, I need to reply this. Sorry, my location is wrong. Post is for people. Right, those are people details. All right. We make sure that the bidirectional target field is set up. Again, this is going to be related people. No, it's going to be related people. Yes. Oops. Okay. So let's look at some of our movies again. Let's get a couple more added in here. So Gangs of New York. Let's see. I might not have set this up right. So it's good we're doing this in real time. Because I should see I see posts and pages there. So I don't have that set up correctly because I'm seeing everything, it looks like. So let me go back to my field groups. And this is on movies. And then we want to look at the field groups for movies. And I didn't filter this. This needs to be filtered by post type of people. And then if I go back to my movies and edit that, I should see all my people. And I see only people. I don't see all my other WordPress stuff. So who are the related people in Apocalypse Now? We've got Francis Ford Coppola, Martin Sheen. And did I put Brando in here? It looks like I missed Brando. How could I forget Brando? Let's add my boy in there. Marlon Brando, he's associated with Apocalypse Now and Godfather, right? So I have the movies here under my people, and I have the people under my movies, right? So I can associate all of my people with any movie, which is a separate post type, and I can go to any movie and I can edit this and say, right, I need to associate Francis Ford Coppola with The Godfather. So that is essentially how you make a little mini IMDb. I think I'll probably stop there. I've probably gone long enough. I appreciate everyone's patience, and thanks for listening. I'll leave it at that.
Are you able to make multiple selections there, Brendan?
Yes, I have two people associated right here with the movie.
Okay,
This lets me
are already
select.
selected. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so this left one is like you select from all the people, and then you just click who's associated with it.
I see. Okay, I missed that. Okay, gotcha.
So
very good.
So yeah, hopefully that helps kind of. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to keep going if people have any specific questions too, but I was just looking at the time and I want to be cognizant of that too. So
No, you're doing great. Do we have any questions specifically on what Brendan has presented, or maybe a tangent? Well, let's go specific and then see if we can go off on any tangents.
Was there an example on a live site and where this would be used? I understand databases and I get the concept. I've never had to do this at this point. I just build page to send traffic and done SEO. So I can't even think of a case right now where I'd use this. So I'd be curious of it actually being used.
Well, do you know
Sure.
if IMDb actually uses WordPress, or are they custom coded?
I'd guess it's custom coded, but it's the same concept, I'm sure. I
So
don't know what they
does it
use.
mean you're building a template site and then using a database to pull in the information instead of that? Is that essentially what this is doing?
I was going to
Yeah,
ask a related question. Can you also, once you've created this list of movies or list of people, whatever, are you able to export it to throw it into a database program, Microsoft Access or something else?
yeah,
Well,
you can do that. You can hook up any external through any like something like excuse me, like Notion, Google Sheets, any sort of external third party thing off of WordPress can be connected up to these custom post types. So that to kind of answer your question, Daryl, like for instance, I was working with a guy who does nationwide rentals of like construction equipment. So he wants to be able to make a bunch of state pages and have different content related to states, and he wants to list all the cities on those pages, and then he wants to have city pages that have content specific to those cities. You know, if this is for SEO, this is for, you know, scaling the website to just create more and more of this content. So those are, you know, that's what I see a lot of. It's a quick way, and then you can hook it up to an import tool and create city pages just like that.
Yeah,
So
Brendan,
property
maybe
listings, real estate. Yeah.
real
Maybe,
estate too.
maybe Brendan, if you bring up, maybe I don't know if you have anything like even your site though, because I know you use CPTs on there, or like another site. You don't even really need to go into the back end, but Daryl's question, is a very valid one. It's like
Mhm.
that made sense. Obviously, I know the background, but like I feel like that makes sense to people that haven't seen it to a degree. Like you're categorizing and creating that database, that web of data, but the big part is like, okay, now we have that on the back end. How do we get that on the front end? So I don't, even if you wanted to continue that tutorial and maybe do like some simple loops or something, maybe, but also just, I mean, like looking at a website and just being like, these were pulled from the database, from the custom post types. I think that might be helpful for people.
yeah, I've studied database. I took school courses on it, and it's not the actual concept. It's if a client says, "Yeah, I want to do this." Like, where is this? Does this make sense? Where is it making more work? Like, what? Because there's that tipping point where just a few pages make sense versus this where it gets technical. Yeah, so
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of a site I can pull up here.
yeah.
Yeah. I
I,
think
I,
Daryl, there's definitely certain times where it would be more beneficial than others. Sorry, go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, I can pull up a site that will show like an archive, which would be the display of, I had projects. So it was like 14 projects that would
Sure.
display cards, and then they could go over to the single. You build a single. I'm building with bricks, but you can do this with just a block editor also if you want.
Oh, maybe it's because I use Elementor and other tools typically.
You do it with Elementor.
That affects it.
I came from Elementor, yeah.
Did you want to share your screen, Doug?
Yeah, let me just see. Sure.
Because WordPress is a big database at the core. Basically it's a database, a glorified database that's been expanded to host websites.
So this is just my ongoing process here. So I have projects, which is a custom post type, and they have cards down here. This is an archive page. And then if you clicked on any one of these, that would get to what they would call the project single. And these are the fields that I'm using as far as things here. There's services, which are just check boxes, and then there's a link, which actually goes to the external file. And then there's some 4 extra fields down here for images and things like that. And so it's generated in the sense that in the bricks, I don't know how many people have been using bricks or see it, but you have a project single, I call it, right? And that's what the database looks like in the back end. And these are all fields. And I'm using MetaBox on this one too, but you know, it could be easily advanced custom fields. But this is an actual piece of dynamic data. You know, Bricks supplies a lot of stuff in here, but you would have ACF in here, you would have pods, you would have MetaBox in there for whatever it is you needed to do. And you build out one thing. The great thing about this is you can still continue to build out multiple projects, and it's just you're using one essential single, because if you get it into the point where what it actually looks like, let's go into the dashboard here real quick, and this is projects. And
Oh, okay, this makes sense. It's still a page, but it's either you can have one page do multiple things or pull in data. Yeah, I've never had to use these, so that makes sense why I didn't.
it's a post technically, but so you have these other areas here. These are some custom fields. I'm using you know, admin columns, which gives you some more things that you can put into here, you know, as far as some content, checkboxes and things like this. But all they do is if when you do a new project, you get, here's a company name, the URL, you know, a color picker for that particular one, and then checkbox off this and things like that. And you can add the media that you needed here. And then once you've done that, you can have, there's sometimes this is a taxonomy. So if I don't want to have that thing show up in the archive, I just click remove. And then the main featured would be is over here in the featured image. So, and again, you can do this with the block editor or pretty much Elementor or anything else too. I hope that made some sense.
It kind of yeah, you can have the information in a database, then pull that through to the page so you can have a templated page and pull the data through instead of duplicating and doing it. So like in some cases, so if you're interlinking stuff, like in that example where there's related data and you're using the same data more than once, then it makes sense. That's like this how I'm reading this. If it's everything sort of a one-off, and you're not using the same data repeatedly, you're probably not going to see a savings in efficiency. Is that
this the query loop here? You know, it's just looping through all the projects that I put in here. And I also dropped it in on the home page too. This is a query loop. It just shows fewer, you know, images and things like that. They're just a little bit larger. So you could drop this query loop almost anywhere you want.
Oh, it's embedded.
And if you go to it and you can do this, and again, you have this capability of just putting things up here in the top or even down below, and you have the previous and next post, so you can go back and forth between, you know, whatever the next one is that you want to see, things like this. And that's just a standard. It just does it once. It's in the single. You don't have to worry about it again. You just have to punch the custom post types, the fields in there, and then just hit publish, and it's good to go. And you don't have to redo anything. And I can make changes to this completely, and it'll change all the projects.
Never have to duplicate a page again.
What's that?
Can you embed this within a page?
If you use a capable builder,
yeah, you could. Yeah.
It's not really embedded, but it's, yeah, I mean, kind of similar concept. Yeah.
Right. You could put a query anywhere you want, and, you know, you can pull in just one particular project if you wanted to, because the idea of this is to loop everything in as best you can.
So another example is like if you have your services template and you have 8 services and you have like 20 different FAQs, you don't want to show the FAQs on services they're not related to. So you can relate those FAQs to the service, and then you just have a list of all your FAQs, but the ones that get rendered on that particular service are unique, basically, that you've selected. So there's just a lot of ways to granularly control what you're displaying, how many, and you're looping through content too. So you build one time and then it loops over like however many you have in the database.
Yeah, this is the query loop here. It just loops through, and all it's doing is it's just doing posts, and I'm actually setting up the projects as the post type, and I'm putting it in the menu order I want, and I'm just saying that's the maximum number of posts per page. And then that little thing where I said remove, I'm excluding that taxonomy, anybody that has a taxonomy, so it doesn't show. And this just populates as much as it needs to, because it's just being done once, and it's consistent here, for you got the featured image, you've got this, you got this, and that's basically it.
And then when in the future, if you ever decide that, I'd really like to add another field that says who the project lead was on that particular project, you can go add that. It will add the field to all of your projects. And then when you go and create your template, you add just one new text field for that project lead, and it'll show up on all your projects. So it's a way to sort of really centralize and not build multiple times. You're building with
Oh,
sort of templating in mind.
Yeah,
makes sense.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
pull
that's how you code, where you would have one class representing one everything and then a bunch of smaller data feeding. Okay, now it makes more sense. Why I was trying to think of a use case where it makes sense, because if the initial setup is more on these can be quite sometimes can be time consuming. So I was saying, when would you take the time to set this up, and when doesn't it make sense? Because the initial setup, once it's done, and it saves you time. The initial setup and educating clients, etc., could be it could take a few hours initially,
but
but it saves you time in the future.
the great thing about it, your customers could just go to the back end and create a new service very easily, because the fields are demarked as to what they need to be in, and it just automatically gets published and pushed out there. So it's very easy for your customers to deal with.
Yeah, clients can fill out a form field. They don't need to concern themselves necessarily with like, is this on the left or the right? Because you can change that in the template, changes it everywhere. Or you can do one-off things too with some dynamic data too. But anyway.
Yeah. I'm in the
I've always had kind of a rule of thumb that if I'm going to do something twice, I make it a template the first time, and
Yep.
I've seldom regretted that. There's been plenty of times where I find myself going, "Oh yeah, I need a third one. Oh yeah, well it'd be handy to have this code available for another similar website, or I've got another
Yeah.
project that is going to be very similar. It'd be nice to go back and grab the code from that, or grab the template from that, and like I
Yeah,
say,
like I have like a blueprint site where it's like if it's a service-based business, I have certain custom post types already
yep,
set up. I've got the services, I've got the locations if it's going to do like some location SEO, and then the relationships are already set up for me. So because I've set that up enough times from scratch that I
yep,
thought, I'm going to make a blueprint site of this. So
yeah. I call it my
It's,
clone site. I've got a clone site that's got all sorts of different pages and posts and layouts and testimonials and case studies and all kinds of different things that can be pulled into whatever project. And that way I only have to keep that one site up, and current.
Mhm.
Cool.
Thank,
Does
thank you,
anybody have
thank you,
any?
Doug, for being ready to show that because I wasn't really planning on showing bricks or anything like that. I was trying to keep it simple, but I appreciate that.
yeah.
I also want to comment that is I can't imagine a more Portland picture than that one of Doug.
Yeah. Coffee in the winter. There you
With the
go.
Great
beanie.
town. Great town.
I'll see you there. Doug. Hopefully, are you going to WordCamp?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Cool.
It's a
I got my ticket.
15-minute drive for me.
Oh,
Awesome.
lucky. Damn.
Very nice. Anybody else have any questions?
Oh, I got all mine answered. It makes sense. I was confused because it's a page, but then you're using a data space. Whole thing is then they're saying, but it wasn't a page, but it technically is a page. You can duplicate the page, but you're making it so it's easier to pull in data and gives you more power. Once it all makes sense.
Yeah.
But I
I
come
like
from
that.
IT
I
background
really
too, so
like
I
the
was looking
fact
at it
that
from both ends.
you're keeping you're keeping the data, as opposed to the way I did it for so long with just creating template pages.
Mm-hmm.
You're copying the format, but you're not retaining the data. in any way, which this is really nice because it can then be available for whatever it might be available for.
Mm-hmm.
Their pages in the future, so you've got other pages you wanted to build out. You build a new template page and then just use whatever you need to pass through.
Mm-hmm. I can give another quick example. I did a video recently on building this
Please.
site from scratch. It's got some custom post types in it. So if we come down to like this area, these are post types. And so if I go back to the back end real quick, we'll see I have testimonials, solutions, and resources as my custom post types. If I look at my resources, I've got various brands in here. I've got categories for my logos, like what kind of thing they are. And then I've got solutions, and these are like the 4 different things in here. If I edit these, we've got all these repeater fields, right? So we've got a feature name, we've got a little image here, and we've got a little description, and that repeats all these numbers of time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then when I go to render it, I just go to a template and I go to like my single solutions page. Those are all features like of my solutions, but this is my solution single post type. And you can create it one time in here and it'll repeat all the different options I have. So when I say it's repeating, it's repeating the features that I have. So if I had 10 in there, or I had 5, or I had 2, I had 20, it's going to just pull them in for me, however many I have, and it's going to alternate back and forth. So like on the front end, what does that look like? I can go select any 4 of these, and they're going to have that same template, and they're going to repeat back and forth like this. You know, on the back end, we only saw that one, right? We just see one here, but it repeats for as many as I have. So it's the idea of building one time and having data render for you. So it really does save time, I think, in the long run. And it's better because you can switch themes more easily, and you can port your data, and you can have it in spreadsheets, and you can. There's a whole number of reasons why you want to think about this when you're building websites. So anyway, hopefully that, I don't know if that cleared
Makes
anything
sense.
up.
You're thinking more like a programmer when you do this versus just I have a template. I'm just going to insert a bunch of things. All
Mhm.
right. I learned something.
You'll find a lot of uses for doing a custom post type, like for landing pages. Keep them out of the pages, and you can just build a landing page. It's a kind of a one-off, but it puts it away from putting it into multiple pages and things like that. And I do it for policies. You have a terms of use, you have a cookie policy, you have this kind of policy, that one, and just put it into a custom post type.
That's a really good point too. Yeah, anything that you're going to use even globally too. I didn't get into this, but you can create what are called like option pages, right? So you could put the customer's phone number there. You could put the customer's social media links, anything that's sort of global, right? But you want to have a central place to manage those things. You don't want to have to hunt in the header template. You don't want to go to the footer template. If they had changed their social media link, you want a centralized place to manage that. And it's easier then for the client to say, look, we want to add LinkedIn, or we have a new LinkedIn link. They're doing it in one place, renders over their whole site.
Yeah, I like the idea of the Doug's idea of the landing pages, because you can keep putting out different landing pages for the same or similar or related products,
Yeah.
and the database will keep your descriptions and your bullet points, whatever it is. That's really convenient. Wheels are spinning.
Yeah, now it's locked in the database of WordPress instead of some custom code, especially if you get these other builders that you lose if you switch, because you're
Exactly.
pulling in just the core database information. Oh, all right. So we're at 7:12 now. So
Great. Well, I'll throw the net a little wider. Does anybody have um, anything that they'd like to bring to the table? Maybe some WordPress news that you'd like to discuss? Something you recently learned that you like to put out there and suggest we look into? We don't have a lot of time for, go in a deep dive on anything, but anybody have something that's come across their bow over the past month? No?
How do we hire
All right.
Brendan to do this for us?
Right as I put my contact info in the link in the description.
And I
Yeah.
want to remind Mike to put his usual links in the chat for things coming up in the WordPress and WooCommerce worlds. Mike's got a useful resource page for all kinds of things WordPress and WooCommerce.
Yeah.
Good. I got one little thing. I mean, if you're tired of the Adobe tax and want to get away from Photoshop and a variety of other things, there's
Oh,
a tool
please.
I use. It's called Affinity, and they have a 6-month free version that you can actually test because it can do quite a lot, and it's also 50% off on all of it. So there's no subscription. You just buy it, and then if they go from version 2 to version 3, you get a little bit better discount, for moving it forward. But I've been using this for years, and I think it's great.
Is it a suite or a specific
Suite, yeah.
I use it
product?
too.
Yeah, we have 3. So you can do. They have what they call. There's photos, there's design, and the other one was just for their books, I guess you would call it. I don't really use that portion.
Yeah. It is missing. The only thing it doesn't have that Adobe has, like Adobe, they don't have a video editor. So if you don't need a video editor, I've been using this for a few years. I bought the first version when it came out, and then I bought 3 years later for $100. I bought version 2, and I've been running that. And I barely use it, maybe 30 times a year, but it's still cheaper over the time than using Adobe. I don't spend a lot of time in them, but they're really good. And they improved their licensing now because you used to buy Mac or a Windows version. Now I think they give you up to 5 or something between Mac, Windows, doesn't matter, your iPad. It's worth it because even if you only use it 3 or 4 times, an Adobe subscription adds up really quickly now.
Oh my God, yes, it does. This is
It's awesome, this
a
software.
one-time payment of $82.99. How long did you say you've been using it, Daryl?
Since 2020, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, they've been around for at least a decade or more, probably at this point,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, more.
Maybe.
Yeah, probably more.
I had it a long time ago, about probably 20 years ago, when I first started out.
Probably back when Photoshop was still a one-time purchase.
Yeah.
I like Adobe
Unfortunately.
though. It's just
Back in
They
the
were-
day.
trying to think of the time they were. I think it's probably in the footer or something. But if you need a video editor that's free, DaVinci Resolve is the one to look at.
yeah. Adobe has its hooks in the clause in the school, so there's cases you have to get it because it's a change management thing. If you're hiring enough people and you try to train them on other software, sometimes you're like, oh no, we're all in Adobe because they just give it away because they want people to learn it. So that's why some software sticks around. It's like why Word is so popular. It's not because it's the best. Everyone uses it and that's what they teach.
But one of the things that Affinity does is it's free for any education system and free for any charity system. So no charge at all for those.
Cool.
Yeah,
Two great
Resolve is
ideas.
good too. I mean, that one is pretty popular, and yeah, that is a good one. I've used that. I've used Premiere. I've used a bit of the other ones. Resolve is up there. They have a free one. Even their paid one is lifetime. It's not that much money. It's a one-time payment. I mean, if you bought their more advanced one time, it's still worth it. It's one of the more powerful ones. It wasn't even that much money.
You're talking about DaVinci Resolve?
Yeah, even if you got the paid version, it's still a great deal if you wanted more features, because it's one time, then it's a lifetime deal. No subscription. And I was thinking for a presentation, I know Mike brought this up. I wonder, Termageddon's a really powerful tool because I actually have it and I've used it. That would benefit a lot of people. I'm pretty sure it uses these ACFs on your site. There's plugin. It's worth it, and it's really easy to to set clients up. They'll actually do all the onboarding for you if you want with the client. They'll walk them through
I
it.
like it because last time I haven't used it in a while, but I have it on a couple sites, and it pulls in if you add like a new script or a new tool to the site, it like automatically adds it to the like policy page, which I thought was pretty handy
You have a
because that can
client,
add up.
a term again, I think it's like $100 a year, isn't it?
Yeah, 119. They
Client, you
just
have a client that can afford it, it's probably the best way to go. But if they're on a
Yeah.
budget, I use WP Auto Terms, which is a free plugin that you edit. So, but yeah, Termageddon, they're sort of a class of that whole evolution over the last, what, 3-4 years. Privacy
Yeah.
policies and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Don't let Figma steal your content, huh? Figma's got a new project out with somebody. They were in the news just this past week. Incidentally, you asked me about posting. So I went ahead and posted the agenda for Wednesday, Woo Wednesday. It's in the links there. But generally, I'm not done with that till Wednesday morning. But there's a prelim of some of the stuff we're going to cover on Monday. There's a list of other meetups that people may be interested in as well.
Ooh, 6.6 is almost out, huh?
Pretty soon. First week of July, right?
That's a
Early
pretty
July.
big update.
So TechCrunch says Figma pauses its new AI feature after Apple controversy. I knew they were in the news for something. That was 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So
people-
yesterday they disabled their AI design feature. So something's up there.
People were not happy about it.
I've only used it for their wireframing so far. Nothing really secret. It's just here's a wireframe to share. So I haven't used it for anything more than that.
No, it's a great tool. It's Adobe tried to buy it, and it's like now they're acting like Adobe bought it.
20 billion they were going to pay him.
20, I know. It's like
But the
the
Why didn't they
Justice
take
Department
it?
got in the way.
Did they take it?
The
No,
FCC blocked
they
it.
wouldn't let it go through. The Justice Department blocked it.
Yeah, Lena Khan stopped that.
And and I think they got $1 billion walkaway fee. I think they got $1 billion when the deal didn't go through.
I think they knew it wasn't going to go through too.
Decent money if you can make it.
Yeah.
That's some big dollars, even by today's standards. So, but Figma is a pretty powerful tool. I know a lot of people that use it.
I know people want AI in it, but I would be terrified if I saw that as a designer. I just see that as a lot of people about to lose their job.
You know, AI comes up a lot, and I don't really, I don't advocate. I think it's probably the future, but you really don't know what sort of code is coming with that AI. Right? You don't really know what's in there. And bad actors can start doing stuff that you're loading a whole bunch of stuff onto your website that you have no idea what's going on. And the AI is pretty powerful. You can save you a lot of time, and there's a lot of benefits there. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be a critic of it, but like with any tool, it can be used for good or bad. And that's what scares me about it is that when you load that stuff in, you don't know what else is coming along for the ride.
1 minute I'm building a
Yeah.
personal trainer website. Next minute there's robots and lasers in our streets.
Yeah, we all saw how Terminator ended.
Oh man. Hell, not even Terminator, man. I still remember
Hopefully the humans win.
RoboCop, you know?
That's a good one.
All right, well, let's start wrapping it up. Does anybody have, Mark, it's been great having you here. We talked briefly about, I always call to see we need to fill our presentations for the future. We don't have one as yet for next month. Want to start filling those up several months in advance. So if you know of a product, and I throw this to everybody, if you know of a product or a particular presenter that would be a good fit for our little group. And also, let's remember the other end of the spectrum. You know, if you know somebody who is a user on the amateur end of WordPress, and you think they might benefit from having a panel of helpful people to help them with their issues, by all means, please share this. In the meantime, do share our group to your audiences on whatever platforms you're on. Let them know about us so we can grow this community, get a more active user bed. And with that,
Yeah, I'd like to ask you a quick question on that point, because I do share your meetup in a couple different places. And then when a week before I put it on the Woo blog, but I refer to you as the San Diego WordPress monthly help desk meetup. Is that okay with you?
well, remember there are other San Diego groups. There's at least one other San Diego WordPress group. So we are WordPress Web Help. We technically we don't have the San Diego as part of our name, even though it was started out of San Diego. I'd say we've
So
we've broken. Well,
you prefer
yeah,
to be help.
I prefer to just use the actual term, because that way, if they search for us, they'll
Okay.
find us under
Yeah, I can do that.
WordPress
That's
Web
all right.
Help. Yeah, so you just say WordPress Web Help Meetup.
Because most of them are there's some kind of location specific aspect to these. But I'll do it. Whatever your meetup group says is what I'll put on there.
Well, there's other San Diego
Yeah,
meetups,
but none of them are you.
WordPress meetups. Yeah.
This has become
So
international. We've had people from Europe now, so the whole San
Yeah.
Diego thing it's moved on.
Yeah, you should be the intergalactic.
Well, I remember there was someone from Spain or something like that at one point and somewhere else. So yeah,
Hey, if somebody
people
wants
are
to
hearing
show
about
up
it.
here at 4 a.m. or whatever, we're
Yeah.
gonna welcome them. You're not gonna get me up at 4 a.m. into a WordPress meetup, but there are those people, those poor, interesting unfortunates, you know.
Some people like being up that early.
True
Or
that.
they
True.
just haven't gone to bed yet.
Say again.
Or they haven't gone to bed yet.
There's
Yeah,
that too.
if they're
Yes. They're on their 8th Red Bull as they're finishing up a
Spanish,
project.
they're just finishing dinner probably at 4 a.m. Getting ready to go to the discoteca.
There you go.
I lived in
Yeah,
Barcelona for a year. It was destroyed my sleep schedule.
I actually like mornings. I can just never, you know, I like mornings and I like evenings, and it just right now my life doesn't work for 5:15. But 5:15, man, there's nothing like the morning. But 4 o'clock, holy crap, that's a bit severe. All right, people. Well, once again, let's thank Brendan for his presentation. I found it very useful. I know you guys did as well. I got all kinds of ideas spinning in my head on ways that I've wasted time in the past, and hopefully we'll be able to streamline things in the future. And Brendan, please keep coming back and maybe come up with a. By the way, Brendan just appeared on the WP Minute podcast. I was listening to that earlier today with an interesting presentation on Bricks, the very builder that Doug was demonstrating for us earlier. Interesting stuff.
I'll drop
you
a
guys
link to
know
that if anyone's interested.
Yeah, I mean, we could certainly do a presentation on Bricks. In the meantime, if you want to hear his discussion, go to the WP Minute podcast. I put Brandon's. I assume everybody knows how to save the chat here. Click on the 3 little dots in the chat window and choose the save chat option. Also, I'll sometime between now and next month, I'll have the replay up, depending how busy this week is, because I'm doing the editing. And since we missed the beginning, I'm going to have to record some introductory content to add to replace what we lost by the fact that when I'm still not a huge fan of the way Zoom presents the screen to me when I'm sharing my screen. So I was seeing a pause button, which under normal circumstances means that you are recording. But in fact, it was just a truncated view of the controls, which didn't show me that the record button was unpushed. I had just assumed that somehow in version changes, it automatically started our meeting when I opened the room, which I have had set in the past, but that tended to be unnecessary. Anyway, thanks for being here, everybody. Look for the replay. Thank you, Brendan. Mike, good to have you here. Daryl, always a pleasure. Doug, Mark, Linda, Mary, Trish. It was great having you guys here. Put the second Monday of August on your calendar, and reach out to me if you have any ideas or any suggestions for a presentation, or you'd like to give a presentation yourself. I'm putting my contact in.